let's step into the world of New Historicism, a critical approach that reshaped how we read literature and history. At its heart, New Historicism examines literary works within their historical context, while also turning the lens around using literature to understand cultural and intellectual history itself. Its roots can be traced back to the tradition of cultural poetics in the 1950s, but it truly gained prominence in the 1990s, largely through the work of Stephen Greenblatt. In 1982, Greenblatt casually coined the term New Historicism in the introduction to his collection, The Power of Forms in the English Renaissance. There, he offered a striking example, Queen Elizabeth I's bitter reaction to the revival of Shakespeare's Richard II on the eve of the Essex Rebellion. For Greenblatt, this was a perfect illustration of what he called the mutual permeability of the literary and the historical. That offhand naming stuck and went on to influence virtually every period of English literary study. Now, New Historicism rejects the teleological view of history, that comforting belief that history moves towards some fixed goal or inevitable end. Instead, it argues that history is neither linear nor progressive, but rather a narrative, constructed and interpreted much like a text. Drawing heavily on the ideas of Michel Foucault, especially his theories of discourse, power, and knowledge, and the concept of the episteme, New historicists maintain that every historical era generates its own dominant discourses and systems of knowledge. Literature and history, then, are not separate realms, but mutually shaping forces. To fully understand a literary text, we must read it alongside cultural documents, political records, and other contemporary materials from the same period. In practice, the movement blends the textual precision of formalism with the interpretive openness of existential criticism. The result is analysis that is both rigorous and rich, avoiding absolute or totalizing explanations while still steering clear of pure relativism. Instead, it critiques the dominant discourses of an era and exposes the power dynamics that shape cultural production. Following Foucault's notion of power and knowledge, New historicists view literature not simply as a mirror of power, but as an active participant in its operation, reinforcing, negotiating, or subtly undermining authority. This means the old distinction between historical background and literary foreground collapses entirely. Both are shaped by the same cultural and ideological currents, making them inseparable in meaning and in effect. Let's meet Stephen Greenblatt, one of the most influential literary historians, Shakespeare scholars, and cultural theorists of our time, and widely recognized as the founding figure of New Historicism. Since the year 2000, Greenblatt has served as the John Cogan University Professor of the Humanities at Harvard University. As the general editor of the Norton Shakespeare, published in 2015, and a key contributor to the Norton Anthology of English Literature, he has shaped how generations of students encounter Shakespeare and the English literary tradition. Greenblatt's landmark book Renaissance Self-Fashioning, published in 1980, established New Historicism as a major critical approach. He often calls it cultural poetics, a method that situates literary works within the dense web of political, social, and cultural forces of their time. In his analysis, literature does not exist in a vacuum. It participates in the crisis of meaning, in the negotiation of power, and in the circulation of cultural values. The concept of self-fashioning, which Greenblatt coined, refers to how identities are formed not through solitary invention, but through social, political, and cultural pressures. This insight helped reframe Renaissance studies, showing that writers like Shakespeare were both shaped by and shapers of their historical moment. Greenblatt also co-founded the influential journal Representations, which became a central platform for New Historicist work. But his influence is not limited to academia. He is also a gifted writer for general audiences. His best-selling Will in the World, published in 2004, offered a richly contextualized portrait of Shakespeare's life and world. The Swerve, How the World Became Modern, published in 2011, won both the Pulitzer Prize for General Nonfiction and the National Book Award, tracing the rediscovery of Lucretius's De Rerum Natura and its transformative effect on Renaissance thought. In 2018, he published Tyrant: Shakespeare on Politics, reflecting on the nature of political power and analysis shaped by the political climate following the 2016 US presidential election. Across his career, Greenblatt has written on Shakespeare, Renaissance literature, cultural history, and even his personal travel experiences in Laos and China. His work blends scholarly precision with a compelling narrative style, making complex ideas accessible without losing intellectual depth. Let's turn to Louis Montrose, a major figure in literary theory and Renaissance studies, whose ideas have deeply influenced the rise of New Historicism. Before retiring from academia in the year 2010 to pursue photography, Montrose produced a body of scholarship that transformed how we approach Renaissance poetics, Elizabethan theatre, and the cultural politics surrounding Queen Elizabeth I. Montrose is perhaps best remembered for his elegant and enduring definition of New Historicism as the study of the historicity of text and the textuality of history. In just a few words, he dismantled the old habit of treating literature and history as separate realms. Instead, he emphasized that literature is shaped by the historical forces of its time, while history itself is written and structured like a text, complete with rhetorical strategies, ideological biases, and narrative shaping. By collapsing this binary, Montrose made it possible to see literary works as both products of their historical moment and active participants in shaping how history is understood. His studies often focused on Elizabethan drama, courtly culture, and the symbolic representation of Queen Elizabeth I, weaving close textual analysis with an acute awareness of power, ideology, and cultural performance. In this way, Montrose's work stands as a model for scholars who want to bring literary interpretation and historical inquiry into a single, mutually illuminating conversation. Jonathan Goldberg stands out as a literary theorist who boldly merged queer theory with Renaissance literary studies. Drawing inspiration from Michel Foucault's ideas on sexuality and power, Goldberg reimagined how we approach early modern texts. His research often focused on the works of William Shakespeare and Christopher Marlowe, uncovering hidden layers of desire and identity within them. He made it his mission to highlight subversive and marginalized voices in canonical literature, challenging the dominance of traditional interpretations. Through his post-structuralist lens, Goldberg reshaped the way Renaissance texts are read, placing sexuality at the center of cultural and literary analysis. H. Aramveser is best known for bringing New Historicism into academic prominence through his groundbreaking editorial work. In 1989, he edited The New Historicism, an anthology that outlined and showcased the movement's critical power. Within it, he articulated 5 core tenets that remain foundational to New Historicist practice. Wieser consistently linked literature to history, politics, and ideology, showing how texts are embedded in systems of power. His scholarship later expanded into post-colonial studies and Middle Eastern literature, enriching his critical range. By bridging innovative theory with practical teaching, Wieser became a vital figure in shaping late 20th century literary criticism.